Hey, what's up, you guys? Happy Sunday. Hope you guys had a smashing week. Hope you achieved your goals, your targets, whatever you wanted to achieve this week. For me personally, Sunday is my numbers day. This is where I review the week. This is where I look at what have I done this week, at my goals, at my numbers. Did I get what I wanted to get? Did I do what I wanted to do, etc. So it's a reflection day, but it's also a planning day. This is also a time for me to plan for the next week. What do I want to achieve? What do I want to do? What are projects, for the next week, etc., etc. Too many people, hey Gunther, too many people will run around like headless chickens without any idea of what's happening. If you're watching a replay of this video, guys, please do me a favor, stick a hashtag replay into the comments. But yes, that's why this evening I wanted to talk to you about 80-20 rule and about planning, because without planning and without knowing about 80-20 rule, you can do a lot of things, let's say, not in the right way, or maybe miss out on some great stuff. Okay, so first of all, what is the 80-20 rule? Well, it's some people call it 80-20, some people call it Pareto principle, etc., etc., etc. But it's all about knowing your numbers. Big companies know their numbers, right? If you went to a big supermarket chain and you asked them how many cans of baked beans have you sold today or this week, they will be able to tell you exact number. Hey Cheryl, hey Martinez, hey Min, nice to see you guys here. Thanks for joining in. Right, so they will know their numbers, but too many people in small business have no idea. Like the first question I always ask, hey Lena, welcome along. The first question I ask when I speak to a brand new team member, I ask them, I say, how many people do you speak to every single week? Because that's numbers, that's measurable, right? That's something that you can actually get a feeling on, right? If somebody gives me that number, I can tell what their level of effectiveness is, what is their level of activity, right? Because too many people have no idea. If they have a bigger team, I say to them, okay, so how many new members did you have this week or this month or, whatever? And they go, I don't know, I haven't checked, so big companies check the numbers. Do you think there's a reason for that? Of course, that's why they're big companies, because they keep track of their numbers, right? So it's really, really important to know what are your numbers, right? So first of all, 80-20 rule, what it is all about. It's about the fact that in any industry, in any business, in any company, there's always that 80-20 rule at play. What does it mean? Well, it means that about 20% of people in your team will do about 80% of the work, about 80% of the volume, and the other 80% of people will do only 20% of the volume, right? And it applies everywhere, right? 80% of your leaders 20% of your leaders will be doing most of the work, and 80% will be doing just about 20%, right? But when it comes to demanding your time, usually it's vice versa. The 80% are the ones who will demand your time. But you have to make sure that you're spending your time, again, with the right people. And big companies know that. Like supermarkets. If you go in a supermarket, they know that 20% of the stuff they sell will make 80% of the money. And all the other 80% of the stuff will only make 20% of the money. So they know what to do. For example, if you go in a shop, the most selling stuff is at your eye level, right? It's at this height. The stuff that doesn't sell is either at the very top or at the very bottom, right? Because nobody looks there, because nobody buys that stuff, right? But most stuff is here in the eye level, is the stuff that sells, because the companies know that's how they have to put stuff, right? So knowing that, you can then start judging, who to spend time in your team, who to allocate your time, who to work with mostly, right? Because you want to spend as much of your time with those people who are the best performers, right? But it also applies to your own activities, right? 20% of stuff that you do will have 80% impact on your life. And the other 80% of stuff will have very little impact, about 20%, right? So if you then analyze and figure out which activities that I do have the biggest impact on my business, have the biggest impact on my income, have the biggest impact on my future, then maybe you can concentrate to spend as much of your time as you can on those activities. And in network marketing, we know the two actions that are income producing activity, isn't it? It's either talking to people who can buy a product or talking to people who can join your business. That's the money maker. That's the income producing activity. So that's where 80% of your time should be spent on. And the other 20% on everything else, on labeling your products, on going to events, on watching motivational videos, reading books and all of that. Don't confuse those numbers. Don't go spending 80% of your time reading books and watching motivational videos and only 20% of your time doing the actual work, right? So when you're planning then, and again, they say it takes the same amount of time to wish as it takes to plan. It takes the same amount of time to wish for something as it takes to plan how to achieve that, right? So why not actually spend the time planning instead of just wishing for stuff, right? So that's why Sunday for me is my planning day. I sit down and I plan the week ahead. I think, okay, what do I want to achieve? What do I want to do next week? What sort of activities will I do? What sort of targets will I chase? What sort of people will I call? What sort of, events will I do? Etc., etc., etc. I plan that stuff in advance because again, success happens on purpose. It doesn't happen by mistake. It doesn't happen on chance, right? Success happens on purpose. So you have to become purposeful with your time and with what you do in order to achieve results, especially if you're in network marketing and doing it part-time, right? Because if you have a full-time job, you have family, you have other commitments, you have very, very, very little amount of spare time. So you have to be very meticulous and plan carefully how you're going to spend that time, because otherwise you can end up spending days, weeks, and even months without actually doing any work in your network marketing business, because you just get too busy, to get on the phone, too busy to do that meeting, too busy to meet that prospect, right? And before you know it, weeks and months can go by. So you want to make sure that even if you're in a full-time job, that you plan your business time, right? Because your full-time job, I'm sure your manager, your supervisor, your company will plan that time for you, no problem. They'll have jobs allocated for you. But your own business, you have to discipline yourself to plan that. To sit down and think, okay, what do you want to get out of my business? How many people do I want to approach every single day? And it's good to have some sort of a tracker, some sort of a way to document what you're doing every single day. How many people are you calling? How many people you're approaching on Facebook? How many posts you're doing, on your Facebook or on other social networks, on maybe groups and things like that, right? So to track your results, to track where your business is heading, right? Because if you're not documenting those things, if you're not tracking, you don't know how you're doing. You don't know whether this week was better than the last week, whether next week will be better than this one, because you're just sort of blindly trying to go through it and maybe you'll get lucky, maybe something will happen. But that's really not how business is grown. That's not how professionals do it, right? Professionals analyze and see, okay, what is happening in my business? What is working well? What is maybe not working? And then they fix those things and try to improve them, etc. So that's really my wish for you. Spend your Sunday doing those things. And one of the best little quick time management tools that I've ever seen was a tool by Darren Hardy. So when I get into time management, I'll share with you more about that. But it's a very, very little tool where you just have a piece of paper, you split it into 4 quarters, and you put goal 1, goal 2, goal 3, and miscellaneous in the 4th quarter. And then you write everything what you're going to do today in one of those quarters. So if everything you're going to do tomorrow is just in one goals quarter, then you know that, okay, I need to focus more on the other 2 because everything I've planned to do tomorrow is just in one goal. So we'll touch more about that when we get to time management, but it's really, really important for you to get into some sort of a system where you plan your time carefully and then you go and try and achieve those things. And then on Sunday, maybe next Sunday, you look back. See, okay, this is what I've planned for this week, and this is what I've actually achieved. Did I hit my goals? If I didn't, what stopped me? What happened there that prevented me from getting those goals, etc.? And that might help you, again, to get some insights and to fix things for next week. Okay, guys, I hope you found this useful. If you have, feel free to share this video with people that are like-minded who also might get value from this. If you'd like to learn my 26 different ways on how to sell products and find more customers, then head over to titaniumsuccess.co.uk/sales. That's titaniumsuccess.co.uk/sales, where you will be able to download a free MP3 download with our training on how to find customers and sell more products. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great evening, and I'll see you at the top.